I often go on a premise of decoration in threes. And what I mean by that is, in this case, I'm going to have 3 pink dots, or 3 red dots on this surface. The reasoning is I feel like that asymmetry actually creates some dynamic tension on the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just draw 2 solid circles now, and then after I put on another element, I'm going to come back and put another dot on so it'll actually sync to the background. You'll see what I mean as I continue. And I want this one to cross over the rim just a little bit. So I'll just draw the rest of that line as needed. Now I also like to do the backs of plates. I don't like to leave them undecorated, so before I start filling in with color, I'm going to actually go ahead and put some dots on the back of the plate. And again, working in threes here. So once those are drawn on, I'm going to go ahead and fill in. I'm going to use the light red again, the light red Amico Velvet. And I like this red oftentimes because it's not quite as deep and intense as the Radiant Red. I find that the amount of orange in it makes it really pop on surfaces. And as in previous decorations, I want to make sure and paint a couple coats of this to get a really good opaque layer. So once I've filled in the circles, top and bottom, I'm going to apply wax on each dot now to protect it from any consecutive layers of decoration. All right, so the wax is dry on these, and I want to go ahead and introduce the next element. And the way I usually describe this is, the dots to me are free-floating objects, but what I like to do is ground them with a sense of direction. And so to do that, I'm actually going to introduce some real strong linear elements to this plate so that it gives the dots a place to live. I'm going to use my watered down black, which will be kind of an atmospheric gray after firing. I love these painting brushes, these 2-inch painting brushes for this, mostly because they're kind of cheap. And so the bristles go out a lot faster and it creates a really uneven surface. And so as I paint, what you'll see is you'll see a lot of breaks in the lines. And so that's what I'm talking about, having those bristles that are all broken up, and because it creates this wonderful kind of broken, fast line. And I feel like it needs one kind of to counter off of, so I'm going to put another one in the same direction, opposite. And I want to wrap this around to the backside, so I'll just do a little bit on the edge. I'm going to flip the plate and continue those lines. Now all I need to do is just wipe up any of these droplets left on the wax-resisted dots here. And I will end up waxing these, but just before I do, I want to do one other thing. I want to accentuate them a little bit with a slightly darker, denser color. So I'm going to go to my full-strength velour black. I'm going to get a nice thin brush, and I'm going to add an accent with this by just doing an equally quick, sharp line. And I think in this case I'll go by my rule of threes on this, and I'll do one additional. And again, wrap it around the rim. Wipe off any excess droplets. So in order to finish this movement on the next step, I want to now go ahead and protect these marks with wax. And as I do, I'm going to brush over the entirety of the mark, and also I'm going to go over the margin just a little bit to leave an additional little bit of white on either side if I need it. Okay, so I'll let that dry just for a little bit and then move on to the next step. All right, so my wax is dry and I'm ready to put the finishing touches on this. And remember, I said I wanted to work in elements of 3. Now, the exception to that is just the 2 gray stripes. I feel like they're kind of the balance within the asymmetry of these other elements. So I want to put another red dot in, but I wanted to wait until after I had this waxed so that I could put it on after and it would appear as if it's behind that element. So specifically, I'm just going to take my compass here and I'm going to draw just a half circle over the wax portion so that when I fill this in, again, it's going to appear as if it's behind that gray stripe. So the wax will be resisting this spot again, and I feel like the reason I like to do this is I feel like it gives the whole piece a little bit more depth because it combines the sharp edges of these dots, which will not run, with what's going to be a very soft gray atmospheric effect from these lines. I want to do about 3 coats again. Right now I feel like I've done about 2. I'm going to let it dry just a bit more and then do 1 more and I'll be finished. And I think what I'd like to add is just maybe 1 or 2 smaller black dots. And the reason is what these are going to do is they're going to be nice, dense points on the plate that will bleed blue in the running of the glaze. So I think just 2 of those. And then I'm gonna continue that on the back. Just do 1 or 2 back here. So of course the last thing to do is just to fill in the black on the interior of the foot where my signature is.